Welcome back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is Cypherbox bringing you the latest in boxing news, and I just wanted to talk about Chris Eubank Jr. Now, as you know, Chris Eubank Jr. won this Saturday gone by an impressive knockout, in my opinion. Actually, you know what? Let's just jog your memories a little bit. Let's play that for you.
Изучал, но Крис Юбинг довольно бывает разным с разными соперниками.
Очень здорово, после оттяжки под сердце пробивает и тут же серия в голову.
Контратака, перешедшая в такую мощную атаку.
Чуть-чуть увлекся, Юбанк пропустил тут же. Есть падение, еще.
Нокаут.
Да, все, так и завершилось.
Да, конечно.
Рефери сразу же, решил не отсчитывать, не открывать счет. Крис Юбанк, взирает взглядом победителя на далеко не дружелюбную к нему публику.
Посмотрите, не тени улыбки, такая самоуверенность.
Okay, so there you saw it. You know, he knocked out his opponent on Saturday night. Impressive, made a statement, kind of a statement to the super middleweight division. I'm here. You know, obviously he beat Arthur Abraham in his fight before that. I think Chris Eubank Jr. looks great. You know, I think he's definitely a force to be reckoned with. I think he needs, obviously, a young opponent. A lot of people aren't going to give him credit. And this really annoys me, yeah, where people don't want to give credit to a fighter because they dislike him, or in his case, not just him, but they dislike his father as well, Chris Eubank Sr. I grew up watching the likes of Chris Eubank Sr., Nigel Benn, Michael Watson, you know, those names of the old in the 80s and the 90s. Growing up as a kid, that's the most of the boxing I saw, you know, on UK TV. And, you know, I was a Nigel Benn fan. I didn't like his dad too much, but I respected his dad because I knew he was a good fighter. You know, he was a great fighter. And a lot of people are probably going to jump on here and disagree with me. That's your opinion, that's your opinion. I'm just giving you mine. And that's kind of passed on to his son. And his son's probably taken on his dad's persona a little bit. But, it's, you know, he's a bit theatrical. But, you know, it sells. That kind of stuff sells. You know, and I like seeing that sort of stuff. So I think Chris Eubank Jr. is coming along really nicely. He's learning his craft, you know, and he's looked good in his last two fights, especially in the last fight, you know, against Abraham, who had, this tight defense he couldn't get through, and he said it himself. The only way he could get through with those punches were the uppercuts. So he's in the semi-finals now of the World Boxing Super Series, the super middleweight part of that competition and that tournament. And George Groves is fighting Jamie Cox this weekend, this Saturday night. And if George Groves gets through that, I expect him to get through that, we will see Chris Eubank Jr. versus George Groves. And this is a fight I think both of these guys need, you know, to kind of, you know, lay their claim to the super middleweight division. You know, obviously there's Callum Smith. I believe he's in the other semi-final. So, you know, which I think would be a great fight. If you know, we're guaranteed to obviously have one British fighter in that final of that tournament, in my opinion. You know, if George Groves wins his next fight, we're definitely going to have a British fighter in there. Who do I feel is the favourite out of the three to win the tournament? I'm going to go with Chris Eubank Jr. on this one. I just think he's coming along. He's so confident. His skill sets have just get better and better. You know, the power's there. From what I can tell, I believe the power's there. He's got that power in his punch. He's got that ability. He works out in Vegas quite a bit. Works out, you know, with Floyd Mayweather Sr. So the boxing skill sets, the defensive skills, etc. And he's exciting to watch as well. George Groves, don't get me wrong, I think George Groves is a great fighter, is a really good fighter as well. You know, I've got nothing against George Groves. I just think he'll edge him. To me, it seems like George Groves is a little bit shy in opening his mouth when it comes to Chris Eubank Jr. And I'll show you what I mean. Let me just play this. This is from Chris Eubank Jr. I believe I reposted this from him.
I'm going into a tournament now, a Super 8, to
And this was after his fight with Arthur Abraham on ITV Box Office, and Groves was there commentating, or he was there as one of the analysts.
Man's belt, so this was actually the first time in my career that I laid off in the final round. Because, I thought, you know what, I'm about to go into the Super 8 tournament, I can't risk getting cut, I can't risk anything, so let me just pace it, and I've got the win.
Any thoughts on that, Jim?
Good luck to Chris. He's fighting, I can't remember the lad you picked now, but he's got to get through a fight, I've got to get through a fight, and we might meet in the semi-finals.
Unless you lose. I'm
confident we're going to meet. I mean, don't forget, I instigated the draw. I made sure you was number 3, and therefore we would meet in the semi-finals. I mean, I said to the lad earlier, hopefully if all goes well, then I don't need to leave home. I can win the whole thing and stay in the UK. So,
Now, George Groves, I don't know, like, I guess since that Carl Froch fight, the second fight with Carl Froch, he's kind of toned it down just a little bit. If you remember, when he was fighting Carl Froch, he was a lot more mafia than that. He was gobbier than that. There's no doubt about that. I would have expected him to be a little bit more with Chris Eubank Jr. there. Maybe, if the fight happens, we'll see more in the build-up. I might be reading it wrong, but he's playing the whole quietly confident George Groves rather than what he was before. And I suppose maybe the losses to Carl Froch maybe have humbled him a little bit, and he's realised, as most boxers do, they end up realising, well, I'm not indestructible. Look at David Haye, for example. He's kind of had to be humbled a little bit by the fact that he lost to Tony Bellew in their first fight. So in the rematch, in the build-up, although you could tell David Haye probably wants to be David Haye that he's always been, he can't, because at the same time you say, well, what can I do? I lost the first fight, I've just got to sit here quietly, be confident and do the job. And I'm guessing George Groves is taking the same approach if the fight happens, which it should. I don't see Jamie Cox beating George Groves. I think George Groves should win that fight, and it will make for a great semi-final between Chris Eubank Jr. and George Groves. I'm not going to talk about too much about predictions and stuff. I'll try and do a prediction video for that fight should it happen. But I think, for me, I think he is a really good fighter. Eubank himself also recently just said on BoxingScene.com, you can go and have a look at it, that he is superior. He feels he's superior. He's a superior fighter to George Groves. Now, he says he's sparred George Groves on many occasions, and in those occasions he believes 90% of the sparring, he was winning 90% of the sparring sessions. He says he knows everything he needs to know about George Groves. He sees it, obviously he watches his fights on TV, etc. He's got footage of that sparring still. He says he won't release it, of course, because that would be wrong. But he's saying that from that he's very confident that he can beat George Groves. He says George is a really good fighter, good world champion. He's not disrespecting him in any way in that sense, but he just believes he's a superior fighter to George Groves. And we'll have to wait and see when that semi-final happens to see if that's the case. I feel it might be, to be honest with you. But you never know in boxing, you never know. But I think it will be a real good fight between two boxers. And they both have good skill sets. Like I said, I don't want to say too much here because I'd rather do a prediction video on it. But I think it's a great fight. And then if Callum Smith wins his semi-final, we could have an all-British final, which is great for British boxing. Again, I'm sure you'll all agree. Eubank's holding that IBO belt. Groves has got the WBA belt, at super middleweight. So it looks good so far, and I'm hoping it will pan out the way I want it to, and most of us British boxing fans would want it to as well. Eubank himself has turned around and says he also commented on the fact that, when he saw Groves fighting Carl Froch in front of 80,000 at Wembley Stadium, he looked at him and this is nothing. I think there's a little bit of a thing there where he feels like that should have been him. That should have been Chris Eubank Jr. Because he believes, well, hold on, this guy's fighting Carl Froch in at Wembley Stadium in front of 80,000, and I know I can beat this guy. I'm better than this guy. So I think there's definitely a lot of hunger, a lot of drive from Eubank to be recognised as one of the best on the planet, which I like to see. It's great to see that sort of determination. I mean, look, this is another video clip of Chris Eubank Jr. and this was after the fight. on Saturday night.
There's no days off, it's 24/7. We don't take breaks. Straight back in the gym after the fight.
And that's that determination and hunger I'm talking about when it comes to Chris Eubank Jr. But like I said, not counting out George Groves completely, I just feel like I'm going to give Chris Eubank the edge on that one. There's Callum Smith on the other side as well. It's all exciting, it's great for British boxing, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comment section. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. Till next time, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.